21st of March, 2017. I'm Tom Gibson, and this is Chuck Augustin, and we're here in Nye County.
Hi, Nye. A couple plugs. First one, the 4-H livestock for the kids, ages 5 to 19. It was advertised on the news, and I thought I'd endorse it. Tom was a member. I was a member as a kid. To me, it was one of the greatest ways. You really learned what, to me, life is about: working with animals and getting to know the earth for what it is before we get swept away into the ridiculous situations we create for ourselves. So the number they gave on the news show was 727-5532, extension 1. And I believe they said it's only $1 a year.
Yeah, it is.
For the kids.
It's a great program. It's pretty much self-funded. And I mean, there's all kinds of things for kids to do. Unfortunately, this is perump, and people don't take advantage of good things. They only take advantage of people. But, sorry.
Yeah, so, and they're also looking for volunteers. Another issue that came up in the paper, I believe it was, the state gave an update on the marijuana situation, and they're having a bunch of working groups covering 8 different topics that are going to do a rush job so they can advise the legislature about a week before the due date is up for the legislature to basically call it quits. So anyway, they're trying to plan to allow a limited temporary rollout of recreational sales starting July 1st. And there's no details. As you know, the legislature's meeting now, and these 8 groups are going to get together real quick and come up with suggestions, and then it's going to go into effect, at least on a temporary basis.
Now, can I bring up a little side issue?
Sure.
I spoke with a couple of individuals over the past few weeks, and they were explaining to me that now, cops realize that marijuana is legal. It's not illegal to have, but and possess. However, these people were stopped. They had marijuana in their possession, and even though it's not illegal to have anymore, the police were saying, well, you can't buy it legally. Where did you get it? So just a word for the wise out there, just give you a little warning that there are certain cops that are out there trying to keep that marijuana law alive, the one that makes it a crime. So what they'll try to do is ask you to give up the person that you sold it to, or have you admit that you had planted the thing yourself when it's not legal yet to do that. So or I think you might be able to have your own plants, but you can't. If they're being harvested now, there's no way you could be able to grow it that fast since the first of the year, that it shouldn't have been in, what do they call it? I mean, it shouldn't have been ripe for picking.
Right.
So just, be careful. Silence is a friend that will not betray you. Don't say anything. There's no, anything you tell a cop, they're not there to get your name and information, to send you a Christmas card, come by and help you mow your lawn. They are there because they, among other reasons, is because they like to arrest people and bring you to court. And so that said, just be very, very careful, but don't ever admit anything, and always ask for a lawyer to be present, because if you do, they're not allowed to keep badgering you, and then even if you say, okay, I want a lawyer, and they go, all right, and then they'll back off and they'll say, oh well, okay, all right, we'll call your lawyer. Oh, but gee, if you're innocent, why would you need a lawyer there? And they'll keep working you, and then the Supreme Court, in their collective wisdom over the years, has kind of backed off on, Miranda protections and not Miranda, I'm sorry, well, that too they have, but they backed off on, a lot of your Fourth Amendment protections. So So don't, instead of that being a case killer for the DA immediately, the Supreme Court said, well, they changed their mind, you know, and don't buy that. Just stick to your guns. Don't speak to anybody without an attorney present, or just keep your mouth shut.
I'll tell you, we were talking before the show about some different cases, and the more I watch this stuff, the more disgusted I get of the petty, ridiculous nature of the police state that we live in now. And it is a police state. You're basically, every time you leave the house, and even if you don't leave the house, you're subject to arrest, you're subject to anything they want to do to you. And I keep wondering, why do the police do this? Why is the sheriff allowing it? Why are the courts, the prosecutors, jumping on the bandwagon and trying to roll up all this? And the only answer to me is it's all a money industry, and that's the whole purpose. Let's get maximum arrests, which produce maximum revenue for the whole system.
I had a friend that was explaining that there's a model used by certain people like libertarians and others that don't like the idea that they have to even get a driver's license. But that said, is that when you speed, or when you're committing an infraction, that's nothing but more than a tax. They're just taxing you for your speeding. However, instead of just being a tax and being an administrative or civil law situation, they have the benefit of criminal penalties, which makes it insane because traffic, I mean, in a lot of states, a traffic offense is merely a administrative law situation, and there are not criminal penalties for it. Other states, different, and we're in the state that does criminalize something, and you can actually do jail time, and it's called a misdemeanor, even though it's a traffic offense, which is supposed to be an administrative law situation, and it should never even get to the point where you even have jail as an option. Yeah.
The U.S. has 5% of the world's population and 25% of the people that are incarcerated. 5% of the population, but 25% of the total people incarcerated in the world are Americans. So we hear all this BS about us being a free country with liberty and, my gosh, democracy and all these words. We go to wars over these subjects, yet our country is totally thrown in jail way more than China, way more than Russia, way more than any other country. It doesn't even come close to the percentage of incarcerated people.
But you look at the people who are put in jail, and it's usually, unfortunately, it's the same folks. Most people with criminal records, it's not a one offense situation. They're multiple offenses. So I mean, that one of the reasons why these same people are in jail that you're referring to. But the problem is too, though, is that maybe, you know, after you've already been convicted of something, whether it's a misdemeanor, felony, gross misdemeanor, once you have that smudge, that mark on your record, then it's easier for the cops to pick on you. It's easier for the DA to throw the book at you. It's easier for the judge to put you in jail, and because they can do it with a clear conscience if it's a first offense. So don't let that first offense happen. And when I was a federal defender in Memphis, we come across people with these terrible records, but it's all misdemeanors or felonies. But the person would say, well, I didn't do this, I didn't do this, I didn't do this. I just wanted to get out. And I'm sure they're true half the time.
Yeah.
And so, but once you plead guilty to something, then it's easy to, well, now you got your record. So fight it the first time. The second and third and fourth time, you've already screwed yourself.
Right.
So fight it. Don't say, well, gee, I want out of jail. Just say, suck it up and spend those 3 or 4 days in jail, waiting to go to trial, and then, or however long it takes, and then come out guns blazing. You win that case if you're innocent and they don't have the goods, and then you don't have that charge on your record
Exactly.
to enhance you to the next level.
But of course, the prosecutors pump up the charges. They do everything to scare the person into
Right.
a plea deal.
Well,
97% of the people that are charged with a crime plead. That's unbelievable.
I have 3 cases right now, 3 cases that are set for trial in district court. And all 3 of them are against the same prosecutor. He's a nice guy. I like the guy, but he just needs to learn that, you know, just because he makes a generous offer doesn't mean the person's guilty. So when all 3 were felonies. All 3 of them he offered misdemeanors, and all 3 we said thanks, but no thanks. We didn't do anything wrong. I'm sticking to my guns here, and my client's sticking to their guns, and we're going to go forward. And I'm confident that we're going to get either an acquittal or a dismissal eventually, because there's no expression, you can't polish a turd, and especially in front of a jury. You know, they're not gonna buy into this silliness. And I'm not gonna get into the facts of these cases, but I was telling you a little bit about them earlier, and I wasn't pulling any punches. I was telling you exactly how the facts are going to unfold, and based on what I told you, I mean, if you were on a jury hearing that, what would you do?
Yeah, and that not only wastes the taxpayers' money, it's a tremendous burden for the person that's charged, because they've got to get a lawyer.
Right.
They can take often a public defender, but they're so overworked,
Right.
they can't get a decent representation. So the whole system, I mean, we just got to somehow find a way to force the system to change this insanity. Well,
and you start off by not passing laws that are ridiculous, and not enforcing ridiculous laws, and get the bad laws off the books.
Right. Okay, we're going to go to break now. The phone lines are open. Give us a call on the flip-flop.